Welcome back to Letters of Intent. I am Pankaj, Raval, founder of Carbon Law Group, and today I'm joined by my co-host,
Sahil, Chaudry. I'm a corporate attorney here at Carbon Law Group.
This is the show where we break down the legal and business issues that matter most to founders, operators, and growing companies.
Today, we're talking about the new CAPE tariff refund process, what it is, how we got here, and what comes next.
So, if you're an importer, work in customs, or just want to understand why this is suddenly such a big deal, this episode is just for you.
So, Pankaj, let's start with the basics. What exactly is CAPE?
So CAPE is a new refund process being used to handle certain tariff refund claims. In simple terms, it's the government's way of giving importers a path to recover duties that may no longer be valid after the recent legal developments. And if people have been listening to the show for a while, you guys remember we had talked about these tariffs a while back and the kind of the chaos that they're causing around the world. So this is kind of coming to a culmination right here today with this new CAPE process.
Absolutely. I know my own family, along with other families who are importers of goods, are going to need this right now. There are a ton of small businesses, especially in LA where we're at, who are importers of record. And we're really hoping that this was going to happen. So it's finally here. And if you're a small business and you are an importer, you need to take advantage of this. And the important thing is, it's not automatic. You will need to take proactive steps and apply for this.
Exactly, Sahil. So for a lot of businesses, this could mean significant refunds. And that's why there's so much attention on this right now. I think $168 billion or more is going to be allocated for refunds. I think probably more than that because the government has claimed to have collected more than $668 billion. So it's going to be really interesting to see how much actually money is at stake here.
So, Pankaj, let's back up a little bit because the tariffs were in the news, they were in the headlines for so long. But what caused this reversal? How did we get to this point where now the government is being forced to offer refunds?
Yeah, so it really starts with the tariff litigation. This is something we covered in our podcast a while back. And the tariffs were challenged in court. And the Trump administration tried to argue that these were kind of emergency tariffs that were required on the IEEPA. And the Supreme Court said, no, actually, they're not. They're not emergency tariffs. These are a tax. And Congress is the only entity or government body that's allowed to levy taxes. The IEEPA did not authorize tariffs in the way the government had imposed them.
So that raises the obvious next question. If the tariffs were unlawful, how do businesses get their money back?
Well, I'll tell you, it's not just hope and a prayer. You've got to take significant steps to get that money back. The government has never been one to just willingly give you back the money without you asking for it. I guess maybe your tax refund maybe is one way to get it, but generally speaking, you've got to make sure you're on top of it and what you're owed because especially this government, I don't think they're going to be quick to release the money that they've had and they've tried to make over the years.
Well, and I think what we're seeing is the administrative response to the court ruling. The court effectively says, hey, these were unlawful tariffs, but it didn't provide a specific mechanism for how the refunds were going to be issued. So this is the government's response to the ruling. This is an administrative response.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, and that's why this CAPE system was set up. The government, surprisingly, actually did set up the system and is actually, I have a feeling it probably has to do somewhat with the midterms coming along, and they don't want to create too much bad will or ill will. So maybe that's why they were hurrying to get this done. But yeah, they did actually create a system to process these refunds called the CAPE system.
So, okay, who should actually be paying attention to this? Because if you're a retail consumer and you were buying a shirt and you notice a price hike, you can't get a refund there. So the people who really are paying attention to this are the importers, right?
Right, exactly. So the importers of record, first and foremost, Sahil, if your company paid the tariffs, your company's the one entitled to the refund.
Yeah, it's not the consumer at the end of the chain. So if you are a consumer of goods, I wouldn't hold your breath that the companies you've bought goods from are going to be giving you a refund anytime soon. But the companies themselves who are importers are going to get a refund as long as they follow the rules and apply.
So correct, Sahil. This is generally an importer issue, not a consumer rebate. It matters for CFOs, in-house counsel, trade compliance teams, and custom brokers.
Exactly. So if a company misses the filing window or doesn't document things correctly, it could lose the refund. And that's why we're highlighting this, because we know if you're in our audience, if you're in our carbon community, you're likely a CFO, CEO, in-house counsel. You're responsible for making this happen. And so you do not want to miss the filing window.
Exactly, exactly. That means, yeah, with an issue like this, that means a lot of money can be left on the table.
Okay, so let's break it down and get tactical. Pankaj, walk us through the actual process.
So, Sahil, a company identifies the entries that may qualify, confirms eligibility, and submits the claim through the CAPE system. That filing has to include the correct entry data and be tied to the right importer.
Okay, so it's not just click a button and get paid kind of thing.
Definitely not. Not. It's an administrative process, which means accuracy matters. If the filing is incomplete or the entry doesn't qualify, the refund can be delayed or even denied.
And I imagine this gets even more complicated if the company uses a broker.
That's right, Sahil. It can. That's why companies need to coordinate internally and make sure they know who is responsible for what. And if they're hiring someone to help them with this process, make sure that they know they've done this, they're familiar with the system, and can navigate it easily.
So, what are the limitations people should know about?
So the rollout right now is limited. Not everyone can apply at this moment, and not every entry qualifies. The program is being implemented in phases. Some entries are excluded, and certain claims may still need to go a different path.
So, the word refund sounds broad, but the actual eligibility rules are narrower.
That is true. That is true. That's one of the biggest takeaways. A lot of headlines make it sound universal, but the real world process is much more specific.
And then there's also the question of timing. When exactly did you pay your tariffs?
Yes.
Yeah, there are going to be different rates that we're applying at different times. And then you have to ensure you're not missing this window for the refund.
Absolutely, yeah. And even if a claim is eligible, the company still has to get it filed correctly and watch for any deadlines or government processing delays.
Okay, so what happens after this first wave of filings?
So I think we'll see three things, Sahil. First, the system itself will be tested under volume. Second, there may be disputes over who qualifies and how much is owed. Third, companies will have to decide whether CAPE is enough or whether they need to preserve other legal options. Who knows whether CAPE will provide the total refunds, partial. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of disputes, probably a lot of work for lawyers to sort all this out.
That's right. So this is the beginning. This is not the end. This is just the opening act of the tariff refunds.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't anticipate this government's going to make it that easy to get the money back. They were tooting their horn for so long about collecting so much money in tariffs, and now they got to give it all back. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. And
Yeah.
this is just the start of the implementation phase, and implementation is where kind of the real world friction shows up.
This really reminds me of there's a story about, I think it's a Buddhist story about a monk who's basically, to keep this short, watching events happen in his village.
Huh?
Someone breaks his arm and somebody says, "How bad?" And then there's a draft and somebody says, "Oh, how good." And there are a series of events where a lot of things that appear bad at first or good at first will change over time. And so I think it's very interesting. Politics, law, and business have all taught me one thing, which is not to rush to any kind of judgment because we don't know what's going to happen next. And so right now, the problem in front of us is that many importers have paid this tariff and they deserve to get that refund. And so we want to be sure that you are implementing this or you're properly filling everything out. This is where legal headlines turn into business headaches. All of a sudden, the Supreme Court has kind of unleashed this ruling on importers and on the government. And now this is a very important business consideration. While you're running your business, you need someone who's committed to compliance and regulation and someone who's able to actually do the administrative work of filling this out so it doesn't become a headache that distracts you from your business.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's exactly right, Sahil. And it's also interesting to know there's a whole market that's evolved around this that I read about. I think it was a Wall Street Journal and New York Times a while back. That actually a lot of people are selling their claims to refunds at a discount
Wow.
to parties. So there's a whole market around this where now third parties hold claims to rebates. Whether they're going to be able to execute on those or not, potentially yes, but it's an interesting market too that's evolved, and there is a secondary market out there. If you're thinking about, hey, I don't want to go through this whole process of trying to get my rebate, there could be an opportunity to even sell your rebate at a discount to someone else and get that money now. So if you're strapped for cash, something to think about as well.
It's very interesting, very similar to like a debt collection model. Like, hey,
Right.
we'll collect the debt, but you get a discount. Very
Absolutely.
interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, okay, if you're a business listing right now, practically speaking, what should you do? What's the first step?
I think if you're a business that imports goods and you're unsure whether you qualify, now's the time to review your entries and your refund strategy and create a kind of comprehensive plan to and understand that the CAPE system to see how you could qualify and what the application process looks like.
And don't assume someone else has it handled.
Absolutely, absolutely. And recognize that also this is new. This is new to everyone, right? So if anyone knows like, oh yeah, I know exactly what to do, they're probably lying because there's a lot of nuances here. We work with international trade attorneys too at our firm. We could recommend if people are looking for other assistance on this, but we're going to be probably interviewing some international trade attorneys in the future to talk a little bit more about what this refund system looks like. But definitely make sure that you are being proactive here because there is a time period to act and you do not want to miss that window.
So the smart move is don't treat this just like a news headline you're going to scream at. This is not just a news story. This has practical implications for your business. This is real money and you need to go after it.
Absolutely. With that said, this is Letters of Intent. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for supporting us. We're now, I think, at our 60th or more episode. This has been a fun journey. We've been learning a lot. We hope you guys all have been learning a lot. Please like, follow, share for more. We're really trying to spread the word about providing insight. And Sahil and I are learning all the time. This is an opportunity for us to learn. And hopefully everyone listening is learning as well. So until next time, please continue to do deals and take risks and chase those dreams.